Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Future Friday. In today's episode, we're gonna continue our car series and today we're gonna talk about hydrogen cars. Last episode, Science Thursday, was basically on electric cars, so today we're gonna talk about hydrogen car. So first you have to understand what was the whole point of this hydrogen thing. Basically we wanted to run something same as basically right now we run on our things on fuel. Basically instead of pumping basically petrol, diesel, we're gonna pump hydrogen. That was the whole idea of same quote unquote infrastructure and the same ideology, same principle, everything. We're just gonna replace the basically hydrocarbon with hydrogen. That was the whole idea. Basically, if you are familiar with grade 6 or 7 chemistry, you must be familiar with like hydrocarbon. Basically, your propane, butane, ethane, whatever have you. All of those things are just hydrocarbon. Basically, they have carbon molecule which is holding on to hydrogen. The higher the carbon concentration, the more solid it becomes. Basically, low carbon you get gas like methane. High carbon basically you get petrol. Even high carbon you end up with basically coal. So that's the whole reality of it. You just have seen physics going on. It's just you want to replace the black parts. Basically you want to replace carbon dioxide. Now this was always considered as a renewable resource. Why is that? Right now if you burn petrol, let's say perfectly purified, perfectly perfect engine, everything is perfect, you're gonna get two component output. Basically you're gonna get water vapor and you're gonna get carbon dioxide. Now here's the problem, these are two component, you cannot regenerate them easily. Basically photosynthesis does regenerate that, but you can get the idea. We do not know how to do it mass production wise. But let's say you are burning hydrogen, just that raw hydrogen, the output will be one component. You will only get water vapor out, and here's the you can do electrolysis on water vapor. Done. It's renewable. So that was the whole idea of it, and it has no pollutants output of that. Basically it has a negligible pollutant output. Now this is one thing that I try to remind everybody, because even if you find someone, let's say, who is denying the global warming and all that, talk to them about pollution, because no matter who they are, pollution is something they know about. Pollution is something they are aware of. So pollution wise, we wanted to remove the harmful hydrocarbons that we are using. We wanted to be like, okay, relax, just want to use hydrogen. And this the whole trend, the hydrogen was started, the whole foundation and the idea started in the oil wars, early oil wars that happened after Cold War, so to say. Now again, it was not an actual war, it was more like oil embargo, but you get the idea, like people were starting to prepare for it. So then the question becomes, why we want to replace it with hydrogen, not something else? Well, hydrogen byproduct is awesome. It is vapor, aka water vapor, aka H2O, aka 100% safe to humans. To give you a context of that, let's say you have a room basically, and you have an engine exhaust pumped into that room. Now don't ask who used that. That was very dangerous thing and very successful in what they're supposed to do. But let's say you have normal car, it's giving you a lot of carbon dioxide and some water vapor. Now that carbon dioxide, the moment it exceeds 13% concentration by volume, you dead. Now when you're talking about let's say hydrogen, it will take much longer, because you're just gonna have water vapor and it's gonna condense. So that is why we want to have something like that. It is quote unquote safe. So that is one thing. Then we come to the physics aspect, right? That is why everybody is like, whoa, we want hydrogen, because it has ludicrously high specific energy. Basically, if I give you 1 kilogram, like this is 1 kilogram of hydrogen, burn it, do whatever you have to, convert it into energy, how much you gonna get, like in terms of physics? Because we are never at like 100% of physics, we are like 90-80% of efficiency in real world, engineering wise. But again, if you have a lot to start with, you're gonna get a lot out of it. So that is 33,000 watt hour per kilogram. That's a lot. Now you might be like, okay, that's a number, how do I know the context of it? Let's put gasoline in the context. You take 1 kilogram of petrol, you're gonna get 12,000. 1 kilogram of petrol is 12,000 and 1 kilogram of hydrogen is 33,000. So 3 times more. So even if you are not as efficient as basically 90% efficient, and petrol engines are barely 12 to 30% efficient. And if you make a hydrogen that is same efficiency, you're gonna get more mileage because of the fact that it starting out energy is so damn high. So that is why everybody, Tom, Dick and Harry wants to use it. And we use it in rocket. Like it's actual rocket fuel. It's not some made up thing. It's actual rocket fuel. We send people to moon based on that. So it is rocket, and it's non-toxic, because there are things that are more powerful than this also, but most of them are radioactive. So that is why we want to use hydrogen. So how does it work? Well, the whole idea of hydrogen is basically a simple thing. Instead of pumping CNG or petrol or diesel, you're just gonna pump hydrogen into your tank. That's the whole idea of it. Now, how you gonna use it? There was two whole idea starting with that. First, they did not want to change the infrastructure, so they wanted to use internal combustion engine. BMW came out with a mini concept that had actual combustion engine. They were using hydrogen. Can you do that? Yes, absolutely. You can do that with your normal engine also. Although it is not recommended because it will shorten your lifespan, basically engine's lifespan drastically. But people gave up on that simply because due to inherent nature of hydrogen itself, the RPM was too damn high. So engine RPM you want to keep as low as possible for longevity. Basically, if you want your thing to last, you're gonna go diesel. Why? Because a unturbocharged diesel engine is generally around 1500 RPM, turbocharged is 3000, and that lasts. Like you see container ship engines, they are not running at 10,000 RPM or something like that. They're gonna wear out very quickly because they have to run continuously for a month or even sometimes even longer than that. So they want to keep the RPM low. The lower the RPM, the longer your parts last. Now, petrol 5,000 to 10,000. Generally, we are below that. Again, if you are talking about F1 engines that are like as high as crazy as 20,000, but you can see that those engines are used and throw. It's like 6 engine per racing season. I'm like, what the hell? So, what about hydrogen? Starts at 10,000. Basically, starts at like when BMW built that, everybody who drove that was like, dude, it's too quiet. It's like, how the heck is hydrogen making quiet? It's like, no, it was so damn loud. They had to build the basically noise isolation. So they reached a point where it was like feeling quiet because they had like kilograms of sound isolation. So people abandoned that idea very early on. This is around 2008 and 9 kind of thing. Then people came to fuel cell. Now, benefit of fuel cell is that it does not have NOx emission. NOx emission happens simply because when you are sucking in atmosphere, you are sucking in nitrogen also, and nitrogen in hot environment where it has oxygen, it bonds together and creates a NOx emission. You don't want that. That is very dangerous. That is very deadly. You don't want that. Now this was doing the same thing. You're like, hydrogen is there, you're gonna pump hydrogen in there, you have oxygen there, you have high temperature scenario there, and you have a lot of nitrogen from the atmosphere. So NOx was also coming out. So people moved to fuel cell, and this puppy was only 20% efficient, this puppy was 60% efficient. So every new model from BMW, from Audi to Honda is focused on basically fuel cell architecture. Now, what about the infrastructure? Because I specified this was during oil embargo, so they thought of this thing far ahead. It's like, how the heck you're gonna have the infrastructure? Well, hydrogen you have to manufacture it because it's rather than being mined, you have to manufacture it. Thankfully, we can manufacture it in mass production very easily. By primary method is basically you take a natural gas, aka methane, and you steam reform it. You push it through ludicrously high temperature steam. Benefit of that, you will have output of carbon dioxide and hydrogen. So that is how our current hydrogen economy is working. Basically, most of the hydrogen issue is coming from hydrocarbon. Then let's say you are in some place where you don't have the luxury of, let's say, United Kingdom. You don't have the luxury of having large methane supplies. What are you gonna use? Normal water plus electricity, voila. So that is the simple two options that we have. Either you steam reform it or you water electrolyze it. So we have source of it. Basically, if you have electricity, water, you got it. We have been using this in lunar missions and all that, so we know how to do this. Then you're gonna compress it and you're gonna transport it because it's very low density. Again, it's so low density is that negative than air, it's lighter than air, so you have to compress the hell out of it, and then you have to transport it. Some people thought pipes would be a better method, some people thought it's like using tankers would be the same way we use for CNG. But and then you're gonna have your end product where people will interact with it. It will be like more or less same as your petrol delivery system. You're just gonna take a hose out, done, 5-minute refuel, done, go home. So this was the infrastructure that was planned as early as 1970s. So what happened? As of now, I'm talking about big companies making big things and actual products and all that. So what the hell happened? Well, once you start to look closely, specifically with fuel cell, you realize it's electric car with extra step. Right there and right then, people stop researching this simply because, yes, there are many companies still researching on fuel cell, but they want to sell it to something else. Basically, fuel cell is very attractive for military purpose and military submarines. So most of the money is going for that, not for your commercial use. So what do I mean with electric car with extra step? Basically, you have hydrogen tanks, and these tanks are not your normal petrol tank. Petrol tanks are easy as hell. Heck, you can store petrol in basically your 1 liter water bottle. Again, you're not supposed to do that, but you can do that if you want to do that. If you're in a pinch, quote unquote, you can do that. And the steel is very good enough to trap it for long enough. It's super easy, and heck, oil inside also make sure that it does not corrode. So super easy to store. However, you are talking about tanks that make scuba tanks look like children's toy, because the psi, this is one critical aspect that people always forget, is that hydrogen is very low density. You have to compress the hell out of it or liquefy it. The reason we can make basically liquid fuel rocket of hydrogen is basically we can cool it down to almost absolute zero, and then we get liquid hydrogen. That is very powerful. Now here's the deal. This is the part that blows people mind away. It almost takes 11 liters of liquid hydrogen, aka almost absolute zero, to make 1 kilogram of hydrogen. That is the physics part. That is the part that kills hydrogen car before they even reach the market. It's simply because hydrogen has a very low energy density in terms of volume. I give you 20 liters of basically volume for petrol. You have almost 20 kilograms, bit less, but you have almost there. Now when you're talking about hydrogen, you have nothing. It's like it barely is 5 to 10 grams, barely. So you have to compress the hell out of it. And if you compress it like 600 psi or 7000 psi or something crazy like that, because those tanks are ludicrously expensive, they have to be reinforced on multiple layers, like carbon nanotubes reinforced and all that jazz. Then they are like 7000 psi on that, and then only they still have 2 to 3 kilograms, not 10 kilograms or 20 kilograms of your normal car. So flat out, that is the physics that kills it. It's like it's electric car with extra cell, because you have to have that tank, then you have to have fuel cell. Those are expensive. Those two components is very expensive. Then you have to feed that energy into your power management. Then the power management will send some energy to battery banks and some energy to traction motor. Why battery bank? Simply because fuel cells don't have the rev up option. Basically you can't just wing, you can't do that. It will take time to reach to maximum power. So people will store energy into basically your battery banks, and it also allows regenerative braking. So battery bank is as a buffer. Now here's the, you can remove two components from this. Just throw away the tank, throw away the fuel cell, make the battery banks bigger. Done. You have electric car. So that is the sole reality of it. It's ludicrously expensive. The cars are expensive. Cars have way too many components into it. Cars are near impossible to repair. So flat out, people are like, yeah, no, just no. And efficiency. Now this is the final reason. So I specified, if hydrogen has a lot of energy to begin with, even in an inefficient system, you're gonna get a lot out of it. But here's the reality of it. The hydrogen fuel cell best case scenario is 60%. Your electric battery is 90% efficient, more than that. And like again, if you are in regular use, basically you charge at night, use in the day, you get almost all the energy back. Now again, if you charge the battery and you let it for 1 week, yeah, then you lose. But that is the one thing that hydrogen does not suffer from. Basically, if you pull 2 kilograms of hydrogen, you will have 2 kilograms at the end of life of the product. So that is one aspect of it, a good aspect of hydrogen, that it can be refueled and stored, but everything else is bad. Basically 60% efficiency, flat out. People are like, yeah, what's the point? Like, I have electric car, plus I have all this hoo-ha, and then also it's not that efficient. And then the fact that it needs new infrastructure. Now you might be like, hey, don't we need new infrastructure with electric car? Short answer, no. For most city driving, you do not need new electrical infrastructure. Here's the deal. Let's say you travel somewhere, let's say from your home to office, and there is a very good chance that it's below 50 kilometers, because most statistical data, even at max, only assumes you're gonna travel 40 kilometers for your job. You're not gonna travel 100 kilometers for your job. So let's be practical here, and let's say it's 50 kilometer and 50 kilometer back. Now here's you can do two things. You can take your car, send it there, park it, then charge it with normal outlet, nothing fancy, normal outlet that can easily run, normal blender, washing machine, nothing fancy, just normal electrical outlet. It will charge it up quite well in 6 hours, and then you can come back home. Or you want to go to some remote villages in India, you can go there. Like if it's 100 kilometer apart, you can easily go there. Here's the, you can do one thing amazing with people do. You can plug your car in normal outlet, nothing fancy. It will take longer to charge, but you can sleep in that time. So that's the reality. Electric cars can be used right now with current infrastructure. When people talk about basically supercharger, all they want is that same infrastructure with some extra transformers and all that jazz. And they want to speed the process up. Instead of 6 hours, earlier it was 12 hours, now it's 6 hours. People wanted to shrunk it down to 1 hour, and it has been achieved. Right now in India, you can buy cars that can do that. So that only requires you to buy fancy transformers and all that, not just have trucks of delivery or pipeline of fuel. So in reality, infrastructure of electric cars is already there. It's already there. In hydrogen, not there. Like, we do not manufacture enough hydrogen. We do manufacture enough that we can use rockets and all that, but it's not enough that every car started to use that. We're gonna run out very quickly. So we have to reinforce that. Then we have to have a whole supply chain. No, it's just inefficient. So that is the absolute reality. This is the one reason people those who are unfamiliar with the physics, they think it's oil companies, globalist and all that. No, it's simple physics, is that it is very low energy density, not globalist, energy density. So what can we expect in the future? Short answer, nothing. Basically, I did specify there are certain use cases of it. It has been used in Apollo missions and all that jazz. And various space missions, we're gonna use that. And some people are suggesting it's a very good way to store energy for long term, because I did specify it is very good for storing energy. So you can have like, during daytime, if you are overproducing it, you're gonna store that energy. Or heck, you can store, like, let's say in summer you are overproducing and you want to store that energy for winter time, it can be done with hydrogen. You're just gonna have normal fuel stack that is gonna provide electricity to the grid, and hydrogen you're gonna like use that you produced in summer, so that can be done. Or heck, you can have like 5-6 years we had like energy surplus, and then 1 year like you have to shut down the grid for maintenance, you can utilize that hydrogen. So there are certain uses of it. It's not that it's useless, it's just not for a car. Like it's car in basically in real life it's just electric car with extra steps. So it does not make sense. Or for what about heavy vehicles and all that things that cannot be done on basic electricity? Use CNG. India has already figured it out, because in Delhi the pollution was getting too bad. So government flat out took steps and they made every public transport into CNG, compressed natural gas, basically mostly methane. And Bangladesh did it, Pakistan did it, Malaysia did it. Right now there is like 100+ country where you can do CNG. So if you really want to clean air, CNG is the way to go. Right now it's already done, figured it out, we got it. And then for what about city driving, just use electricity. It's cheaper, like quote unquote it is cheaper than hydrogen system. So that's the reality of it. Hydrogen will never make quote unquote your trucks, hydrogen car trucks and all that, because think of it that way. I specified in my last video that people are using electric scooters right now. It's a normal thing that people are using, because not even thinking about it. It's an electric scooter. There is electric auto rickshaws that are people being using in India, like hundreds of places, and they are replacing normal autos because petrol cost is too damn high right now. So again, people are slowly moving into electricity. Nobody's thinking too much about it. Over time it will happen. But have you ever seen that same thing with hydrogen? Because you have to understand, we achieved a proper hydrogen car way early on, but again it's just not practical because of the density. It's not dense enough. So this was my presentation about hydrogen cars. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me your disappointment. Please leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Share it amongst your friends if that will help me a lot. And subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.